Some say it's better late than never, and I would have to agree. It's been almost 3 whole years since Rundown 1 first released to the public, and I never did make a single video for it. No level completions, no level guides, no lore or reviews, nothing. Now, granted, that's because my channel didn't really exist back then, but I feel like that's a petty excuse. I need to show all the rundowns the love that they deserve. So, even though it's 3 years later and I had to wait until the alternate version of Rundown 1 was released, I think it's about time I make some R1 level guides. After all, better late than never, right? Hello everyone, Professor Scalar here, and welcome to the Alt R1A1 level guide. Before we get to the meat of this video though, I want to preface something very quickly for those of you who are brand new to either my channel, the game, or maybe even both. If you have someone who has no clue what it's like to properly set up tools for alarm doors or just simple general use, you have no clue how to stealth past enemies, how to use terminals to query, list, or ping things, how to choose a loadout, how to matchmake, or anything else like that, I recommend that you don't watch this video quite yet. Because this video is not really going to teach you any of that. It's going to teach you what's in R1A1 and anything you should take note of as you go from point A to point B, but all that other stuff in between, I'm just going to assume you already know about. So instead, pause this video, go down to the description, and look for the link that will take you to my GTFO Beginner's Intro Guide, and there in that video, you'll learn all of that important stuff. So go watch that one first, and then once you've learned everything from that, you can either give this level another try and see if you can actually complete it without the level guide, or if you want to, you could come back, watch this video, and then you'll have a really good understanding of what is in this level and what you need to do. But now that we got that preface out of the way, let's get into the meat of the video and actually talk about everything, starting off as we always do with the recommended loadout. Since this is the first level of a rundown, we don't really have to worry about anything too terribly complicated or difficult, so we could take just about any type of loadout we feel like and still have a pretty decent chance of survival. And for that reason, I'm going to recommend a classic loadout I love taking, and that would be the Biotracker, the Mine Deployer, the C-Foam Launcher, and then any sentry of your choice. This loadout is quite nice as it covers basically all of our bases. We have a Biotracker, that way we can know the location of enemies even in the darkness or the fog, and if those enemies are awake, we could tag them with the Biotracker to make it easier for our teammates to see them. We have a Mine Deployer and a C-Foam Launcher with us, which will help out tremendously for the alarm doors. Just simply shut a door, reinforce it with a C-Foam Launcher, place a mine on the inside near that door, and then you can just focus on the scans during the alarm, and once that door does break down, that mine will blow up most, if not every single one of the enemies, and it minimizes the amount of enemies we have to shoot at, which means we don't consume as much ammunition, and we have a lower chance of actually getting hit by the enemies, which means our health should be staying up nice and high. And then finally, with that sentry, you can take any of them that you feel like. It doesn't really matter for this level, so just bring one with you, that way you have a little bit of extra firepower to assist you during the alarm doors. That, or if you end up waking up a room with a lot of enemies, you can fall back a bit, find a good place to hold out, plop down your sentry, and just form a firing line with that sentry and your teammates, and deal with all the enemies as they come to you, and you don't have to worry too much about getting surrounded and just destroyed by those enemies. And when it comes to your weapons, like your primary gun, your secondary gun, or your melee weapon, I would just recommend take whatever you feel like using. These earlier, easier levels are a perfect time to experiment and figure out which guns you like, which guns you dislike, get an idea of the pros and cons of every single one of them, since some guns are better in certain levels than others, and just overall expand your knowledge about the game. That way when you get to the more difficult levels, you have a better idea of what weapons and melee weapons you might want to bring with you. That way you can perform at your best efficiency and you have a much higher chance of survival. Dropping down into level, you'll see that your main objective is to collect a DNA sample from a specific HSU, and this HSU will always be located inside Zone 52, and you'll be starting off inside Zone 49. Inside Zone 49, there are going to be some enemies you have to deal with, there will be some resources you can collect, but more importantly, there are 2 security doors. One to the west, which leads you to Zone 52, and one to the north that leads you to Zone 50. Now, most people would assume you could just simply head to the west to Zone 52, as that's where your HSU is located, but the thing is, that security door is locked and requires a color keycard in order to open it up. And that keycard will always be located to the north inside Zone 50. So once you dealt with everything inside Zone 49, you can head up north to that security door, and you'll see that there is a Class 2 alarm tied to it. So let's take a look at a map overlay. As you can see with the map, there are 3 different locations that enemies can spawn from, and there are a few doors that have been color-coded because there are some things we need to do with them. When it comes to this door right here, you're going to want to make sure that you shut, mine, and C-Foam this door, as this is the last line of defense between you and the enemies. When it comes to these 2 doors here, you're just going to want to simply leave them shut. And then this door right here, you want to make sure you leave open no matter what. Because the thing is, that security door to the west that requires the keycard will have an alarm tied to it, and that door is very important for that alarm. So we do not want to risk it getting broken down whatsoever during this alarm. That way we can use it later. As for your tools, you're just going to simply mine and seafoam the door that leads into your room, like I said. And if you do have sentries, you can place them on the inside of the room with you facing towards the door. Or if you did not bring a mine deployer with you, then you could have them on the outside of the door facing towards it. That way it shoots as enemies as they try to break it down. A general rule of thumb for you newer players is that if you have a mine on a door, never place a sentry on the outside of it, because any enemies that it kill would just simply die to the mine anyway, so the sentry is literally being useless. But once you have everything set up and you're good to go, activate the security door, work on the scans while the enemies are coming to you, and then once you finish every single one of the scans, do not open up the door until you have dealt with every single one of the alarm door enemies, because if you do open up that door and then you start shooting at the enemies as they come in, the enemies in the next room are guaranteed to wake up and you do not want to get pincered by them. So deal with every single one of the alarm door enemies first, and then once they're all dead, go to that security door and open it up. Inside Zone 50, not only will you be able to find that key card that you need to progress further into the level, but you will find more resources as well as a lot of enemies spread throughout the zone. And among these enemies, there are going to be 2 scouts. So be careful as you go throughout here. You do not have to explore the entire zone. You just simply have to get that key card and then any resources you want to and leave. There is a terminal in the second room to the north that you can use at the top of the staircase. So use that to ping the location of the key card. And then once you have it, you could just simply leave the zone, or you can head to the western side where you find a security door to Zone 51. This security door is just a full team scan, so no alarm tied to it. And in there will never be any sleeping enemies whatsoever, but there will be resources for you. So if you are hurting a little bit on HP or ammunition or tool refill, you could just simply head into Zone 51 and grab those resources safely. That way you can resupply and prepare yourself for the next upcoming alarm. But once you've got everything you need to, head back into Zone 49, go to the west, and then you could plug this keycard into the security door Zone 52. And doing so, you will see that there is a Class 4 alarm tied to the door. So before we activate that alarm, let's take a look at a map overlay and set up our defenses. As you can see with this map overlay, there are 2 different locations that enemies can spawn from, either the north or from the south. When it comes to that northern door, that one's already been broken open because of the previous alarm, so there's not really anything we could do with it. When it comes to the 2 southern doors, we could just simply leave these shut. But this door right here, like I said, this is the important one from earlier. This door, you're going to want to make sure you shut, mine, and seafoam. And then while you're working on the scans, I recommend the person with the seafoam launcher stay near that door. And as you see the seafoam getting broken off by the enemies, reapply a little bit more. Because if you only seafoam this door once, you're not going to be able to finish every single one of the scans before the enemies break into your room. So re-seafoam it once or twice or however many times you need to while your teammates are working on the scans. And then once all the scans are finished and you see the message appear telling you the door is unlocked, you can stop seafoaming the door, let them break it down, the mine will go off and kill off almost every single one of them, and then you and your teammates can just simply shoot the ones that are still left alive. Then once every single one of the enemies are dead, you can open up the security door and head into Zone 52. Inside Zone 52, you'll be able to find a whole lot of HSUs, but only one of them is the one that you need. So you're just going to want to go throughout the zone, clear out the enemies, but be careful as there are going to be a lot of enemies throughout Zone 52, as well as a few giant strikers, which if this is your first time dealing with them, they can be a bit dangerous. You are able to stealthily deal with them if everybody melees them from behind at the same time. Depending on your melee weapons, you might have to hit them more than once, but that really just depends on what you bring with you. Or if you're in a room with a lot of enemies and you don't even want to risk trying to stealth it, if you have an abundance of ammunition, you could just simply shoot your gun to alert the room and then fall back and let the enemies come to you, plop down some mines or your sentry, and then just deal with them as they get to you and you're in a more controlled situation. But as you go throughout Zone 52, clear out the enemies, collect any resources you can find, and look for the HSU. If you're having a difficult time finding it, you can use the terminal in the zone to ping its exact location. But once you do find it, you'll be prompted to hold the interaction button. And once you do that, a full team scan is going to appear. Once you finish this full team scan, your main objective is completed and the game will tell you to return to Zone 49 and step into the extraction scan that's waiting for you there. And once you get that extraction scan to 100%, you're done with the level. But the thing is, upon finishing the HSU's full team scan, an extraction alarm is going to initiate that will spawn in a few regular strikers shooters every few seconds. So I recommend that before you finish the scan, make sure everybody's healed up as much as you can and then know the route you need to take to get out of the level. That way you're not fumbling into rooms that you have no business of going into. But once you're good, finish that scan, run back to extraction as quickly as you can. You could just simply run right past the enemies and ignore them, or you could shoot them on the way out, but just make your way back to extraction. Once you get in the scan, you can just plop down your sentries and just hold out for a bit. And once the scan gets all the way up to 100%, you are done and you have beaten Alt R1A1. And that's all there really is to it. Alt R1A1 is an extremely short and simple level, but I like it that way since it reminds me of the original R1A1. Sure, there are a fair amount of differences between the old and the new versions, but it still feels like the good old R1A1 I remember. A lot has changed in GTFO these past 3 years, so it's nice to be able to go back to a simpler time and walk through memory lane. As always though, thank you for watching this video all the way to the very end. I do hope it was able to provide you with some assistance in beating this level. If you have any tips or tricks for this level that you want to share, any questions for me, or you just have something in general that you want to say, please do let me know down in the comments. Hit that like button if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more from you, and if you want to join the community I'm building, there's a link to my Discord down in the description as well as some other links. Among those links being one that will take you to the official GTFO merch store, which I highly recommend you check out if you're a fellow GTFO enthusiast. Until next time, have fun walking through GTFO history and experiencing what things were like way back then, and hopefully I'll see you all in the next video.